Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the And Whatnot podcast. Uh, we are slowly approaching the tween years of the podcast. We are at episode number 12. Adam, did you think we would get to episode number 12, or did you think that we would just say F this and give up?
Um, I knew we'd get to at least 10. Anything past that is just icing on the cake.
So if we make it to 100, then it'll be a miracle.
Yeah, if we somehow get to 100, because don't forget we're doing this every 2 weeks, so a full year is only gonna be like 20-something episodes, 26 episodes. So
And then that's, last time we sort of skipped and got out of sync, and so we basically skipped an episode too. We should have had one 2 weeks, or, we should have had one more already.
Yeah.
But what can you do? We'll just see how it goes. I know we didn't really go into this with any sort of measure of success. Like if we have X number of people listening, then we'll keep going, because I don't even know what we would ballpark as an estimate for that, how we would gauge that success. But we are still plodding along. Although I feel like the number of movies we want to review has not kept up with the number of shows we would like to do. So
Yeah.
we're actually doing another Netflix special this week. This week's movie is The Gift, starring Jason Bateman and directed by Joel Edgerton. So before we get into all of that, how has your week been? Or how has your fortnight been?
It's been alright. As you know, tax season is coming to a close, so it's been fun at the office. Getting calls every day from idiots, for lack of a better phrase. Like, people are just so dumb sometimes, Like, hey, I've got 3 days left to file my taxes. Oh, I guess I should do those 8 previous years I haven't done yet.
Oh my.
Or, hey, I called 3 days ago about this thing that I know you're waiting on. Have you finished my taxes yet? And I'm like, no, because we're still waiting on the thing you know about.
Yeah.
Like, I had a couple call 3 times today. Twice the husband called, once the wife called. And then on Friday, they had each called once more, asking the same damn thing. Like, hey... Is that form that we submitted to the government been approved yet? I'm like, I don't know. They'll send you a letter. I hate people sometimes. I really, truly do.
I guess that's the downside of working in any sort of public service or retail. And I mean, depending on the level of interaction, I worked retail, I try to sell people things, and it's hard to change their mind when they've made up something dumb. So that's basically how that goes.
Yeah. And since I assemble all the client packages for people, I'm the one that has to photocopy all the slips and paperwork and whatnot. And I hate people that have lots of medical, including prescription receipts, and they bring me the individual prescription receipts. You can go to your pharmacy and get a yearly printout. It's gonna be 3 pages. But when you come in with a stack of 132 prescription receipts, and I have to photocopy every single one of them, I'm gonna be not happy with you. It's
But
awful.
you'd have to assume that maybe most people don't know they can do that. I would have had no idea that you could do that. I mean, I don't use many medications at all, but I didn't know.
I know, so I can't really fault them for that, but there's some that I have specifically told to them saying hey, did you know you can go to your pharmacy? And they're like, oh, I'm gonna do that next year. And then they come in this year with 200 prescription receipts.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a year between things then. People are going to forget. And, not all the time, but I assume a lot of these people are older because, older people have more health problems. But, yeah, it's a year ago. They forgot that they're making your life. They don't know they're making your life miserable.
There's actually one of the clients that actually lives up the street from Dad. The one that used to raise canaries, his wife.
Oh, yeah.
He's since passed. And luckily, she had the printout of it. And since she can't really get out of the house, you know how Shoppers does like the deliveries?
Mm-hmm.
So every week they deliver her one of like those weekly pillbox things with each thing in it. So she had, I think it was 500 and something different prescription things.
Oh gosh.
And so she did have the like printout list, but it was like 28 pages long.
Oh my.
Because just the way it is, like if she had like one pill in the morning, one pill in the afternoon, those were written as separate prescriptions because they had to be dispensed separately.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there was like 500 and something of them. And so if she had the individual receipts, I think I might have killed her.
Well, then she wouldn't have any more medical expenses because she would be dead.
Exactly, and I wouldn't have to photocopy all that crap.
Oh goodness. Yeah, I think it's just people get weird around tax time, and you're going to get phone calls like 2 days after the deadline of like, when should I file my taxes? And
the first year that I was working there, I think it was 2, maybe 3 days after we went back to our regular hours, because during tax time we're on extended hours, so we're like 9 till 8 every day, and then open 9 till 2 on Saturdays. And so the day after, like, the filing deadline, we go back to 9 to 5. And so, like, this guy calls and is like, oh, yeah, I want to come in and get my stuff done. What time are you guys open till? And I say, oh, we're back to our normal hours of 9 to 5. He's like, well, you guys should be open late, and so people have to work, don't you think? I'm like, well, asshole, if you had, I don't know, thought about doing your taxes sometime in the past 3 months... Jesus, guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is people don't want to admit that they have a problem. And I mean, I've always said too, like certain businesses, and especially like government offices or whatever, some government offices like close at 4, and I'm like, who can even get there? Like that's completely out of all reasonable hours. Mm-hmm. But it's people need to plan. People need to plan.
And going back to photocopying lots. I think it was yesterday, I spent 40 minutes photocopying one guy's trading summaries because he does like stocks online, and so every single individual purchase or sell is a separate sheet of paper. And so I had to photocopy all of them because we need them for the records. Took me 40 minutes to photocopy these sheets.
That's a lot. You think they could somehow shorten that into like a summary or something, like one line item? Like, does it need to be a page? Like,
you'd think so, but Chris was working on one today, and there's a form for when you do sells of stocks and stuff called a T5008, and so
you're getting too technical, man. You need to like blow faster through this.
So Chris goes online to see like the Revenue Canada website, because you can check on people's forms and whatnot that they have, and both the husband and wife had over 100 each of these things. My. And so like every single sale generates one of these forms, and so I'm glad that they actually had a proper trading summary from their investment company, so we didn't have to print out 200 of these things and then also photocopy them, because we need a copy for the client package as well as our file.
Oh goodness, yeah, that would not be fun. How many trees do you kill every year? My gosh.
I easily go through 1,000 sheets of paper a day, and that's just insane. Me. Not including everybody else printing. Each time we order paper, we order 5 cases, and that's 5,000 sheets a case, and we probably go through 25 cases a year.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Should use recycled paper or something. I know it's more expensive, but oh my god.
Well, the paper that we use is partially recycled, and then like a lot of stuff, like the majority of our stuff eventually gets shredded and recycled anyway. It's just that we need hard copies of the stuff, and we need to keep it for 7 years as well. So.
That's a lot. Well, I have a semi-exciting story for this time.
Now that I've
It
regaled
seems
you with all the tax woes I've been having.
and interestingly, you're not complaining about having to pay taxes, it's having to process the taxes.
Yes.
And actually, we went a couple like 2 weeks ago to get ours done, so we're all settled, getting a little refund between the two of us, so we're all good. It was actually pretty easy tax year for us.
Yeah.
Next year will be interesting, but yeah. So my thing, it seems like some sort of mild calamity befalls me every time we go to record the podcast. So as I summarized last time, like dog's been sprayed by a skunk, found like a squirrel in the house, which I think is still here. I heard it the other day, like in the wall, and I'm like, oh god. So now we think it's like migrated to the attic, and then like can get through the walls, but I'm like, I don't know. I like husband doesn't want to like call a pest control person, and I just don't care.
Well,
So
clearly, if it's in the attic, it's the girls upstairs' problems now.
no, we own the house. They rent from us. It's our problem. We have to fix everything.
It's in your half of the house. You deal with it.
I wish it worked like that, but now I can like put it on my taxes as a rental expense. It'll be great. So
Squirrel removal line item.
yep. So the calamity this week is that I had my cell phone in the back pocket of my pants in like my jeans, and went to go to the bathroom, and it fell out of my pocket and into the toilet. And took it out of the toilet, tried to dry it off. Like it still worked a little bit, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm okay. It's okay. And then like 30 seconds later, it's like just started malfunctioning and the screen wasn't responding and all this stuff. I'm like, oh no. So I put it in a little baggie of rice. And of course, the husband's yelling at me like, you didn't do that immediately? You didn't turn it off immediately? I'm like, it was working, kinda. It'll be okay. And then when I took it out of the rice, it wouldn't even turn on. It like turned on and like flickered and like died. So the phone has dead. R.I.P. phone. And
Ripperoni.
and it just so happened that the day this happened was the day the next Galaxy S model came out. So I have the S7, and the Galaxy S8 just came out that day. And I was like,
Time to upgrade.
because like you can't function without a phone these days. Like how long could you go if like, you did not have a cell phone? Like it's bad enough when you forget it at home and you go to work one day or something and you're like, what do I fiddle with all the time? But like not having it at all, like period, it's like I don't know how anyone functions.
Yeah.
And, like landlines, what? you can't GPS things on your landline. You need a cell phone.
Yeah.
And so went to the store the next day, and I'd even gotten like an email from my cell phone provider being like, hey, guess what? The new Galaxy S8 is out. And I'm like, I'm not buying that. Like I never just buy something because it's brand new. So I ended up getting something brand new because I broke the thing I had. And went to the store, and it was pretty easy. And, it always sucks. It's so expensive. And especially like the day it comes out, instead of maybe a couple months later, they drop the price a little bit, but you need the phone. I could have either gotten the exact same one I had for, $0 up front and then X number of dollars per month kind of thing. But then I'm like, well, why would I get the exact same thing if the new thing is already out? And like, so I don't know. It's the conservative, like money-wise part of me was like, oh, you shouldn't have spent the money. It would have been free right now kind of thing. But then the other person is like, new phone. So that person won in my brain.
Now, is the S8 waterproof? Because you might need it.
It is supposed to be like water resistant. Like they can never be fully waterproof because there's pores and stuff. Like there's holes. So it's supposed to be water resistant. I mean, this is the first phone that I've ever actually like damaged to the point that I need a new one. Everything else has just been like, it's been super, super slow. I've had it for like 2-3 years, and the new one is on sale kind of thing. Like it's always been that. This is the first one I've actually broken.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone always looks at me like I don't have a case for my phone. stuff like that. I'm like, if it breaks, it breaks. Like,
Hmm.
there's almost nothing you can do. Depending on the type of case, it's not going to help you anyway.
Yeah.
So, so we'll see how, how long this one lasts. Then you have the fun learning curve of like, trying to change all the settings and like downloading all your apps and putting all the icons on. Because I also couldn't port any of the data because my old phone won't turn on at all, so you can't like
Yeah.
sync them. So luckily, most of your stuff is saved to the Google account, so it already knew every app I've ever downloaded. So I just go through and click the ones I want again
Hmm.
because some you don't want. It syncs like your contacts, and it actually saved all my pictures too, and things like that. So overall, it wasn't too bad. I just the thing that gets me, like my tiny complaint, is they never have the same ringtones. You get like this Pavlovian response to your ringtone, and then every new phone you get, they've changed it. And
Hmm.
I'm like, ah. And like you can find them and download your old ones and stuff like that, but it's such a hassle. Like it's just keep the ringtones. But I guess
Yeah.
I have to just retrain myself.
Yeah, I know. Last year I got a new phone, and like my previous phone was one of the Google Nexus ones, so it was just like bare bones stock Android, and so I got completely used to it. I had everything set up the way that I want, and then I switched phones to a ZTE Axon 7, and it's not stock Android. And I was like, okay, let's find out how to disable every single feature of this phone so I have stock Android again.
Yeah, and it's always they put in all these bells and whistles that I don't think I'm gonna use. Like it has like the retina scan and you can like unlock the phone. It like takes a picture of your face. And actually in the 7, I had the fingerprint thing in the button, the home button.
Yeah,
But this one, since it's full screen at the front, there is no buttons on it. The fingerprint is on the back by the camera,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's really awkward.
Oh
Like
no, I love that on my Axon
it's
7. I've got
like you don't hold it with your pointer finger, like which you obviously use your pointing finger. Your is there a term for the fingers? The order of the fingers. So you'd obviously
index,
use that one.
index finger,
Index. Oh my God, I'm stupid.
index, middle, ring, pinky, and thumb.
All right, fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. And you're the scientist in the family.
I don't. I'm not a thumb expert and finger
You're not a
expert.
biologist.
I'm a reproductive biologist. If your fingers had sperm coming out of them, then I would know what they do.
I think if you had fingers that shot out sperm, you've got a bigger issue to worry about than the names of index fingers.
There'd be some like issues with evolution in this case.
It's another
But-
failed X project. You never hear about X69.
Oh my, this is getting X-rated really fast. But
All right, back to
Anyway.
cell phones.
so you would use that finger to unlock it, but it's like you don't hold it like with your finger pointed against that part of the phone. You kind of like hold it around the edges by the bottom. So I just find it very unnatural to unlock it. I'm thinking of just not having a lock on it, period, because I don't like doing the password or the little swipey picture. Like F that. Like I just want it in my phone. Just open it. Like
I don't know. I think the like fingerprint thing on my phone is great because like when you hold it in your right hand, your thumb will be right on like the unlock button that will turn the screen on, and so you just move your finger like half an inch, hit the fingerprint scanner, and there you go. It's like really well designed and it like fits my hand perfectly. I love the fingerprint scanner on it.
see, and my old one, it was the home button. Like it was right where my thumb went, so it was synced to my thumbs, and it was great. And then this one's just awkward, but I don't know. I'll see how it goes. Because it's like I don't want to have no lock on it, but maybe I'll just have to do a swipey thing or something. Get used to that.
I also like the fingerprint scanner because when it's in my pocket, I can hit that as I'm pulling my phone out of my pocket, and it's already on, so I don't have to hit anything once it's out. So
Yeah, because I find like if I just put my finger on it, it won't turn it on. I still have to like turn it on, then hit the button. So like you either have to hit the side or you like double tap the screen and it turns on. And it's like no movement flows nicely to the fingerprint. So I don't know. I have to fiddle around and then you have to like. And it's
I don't
a
know.
bigger screen with like a higher resolution, so the like icons are a little smaller, so I can actually put more like things on it than I had. So I'm like, what do I do with all this space? So
yeah. The one thing I don't like about my phone, though, is that, like, the camera is a lot higher resolution, so, like, if I need to take a picture of something and, like, text it to someone, it takes forever to send, which is, like, a super, like, dumb complaint, like, oh, my camera's resolution is too high, it's too good of a camera. But, like...
Yeah, that's basically it. That's a first world issue. But so is everything with our, like, $1,000 phones. Like,
yeah.
You know.
Like, a while ago, like, I had texted you a picture of something, and I can't remember what it was, but it took, like, a minute to send it. I was like, damn it, I have to keep going. I'm just texting you a picture of this thing that you might want. Like, I need quick responses here. It's awkward standing in front of the guy being like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just waiting for her to text me back. I don't know if I want to buy it yet.
Yeah, that's hard. All right, so before we get to talking about the movie, now that we've aired all our grievances, this movie doesn't have a lot of outside topics to bring into it. Like we kind of said last time, we tried to talk about, overall themes or like something about the movie before we actually talk about the movie itself. And this one, it's a sort of suspense kind of horror-ish movie, and it doesn't really bring up a lot. It's like the thing is meant to kind of scare you, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. So I thought, the movie's kind of about getting to know someone from your past and, how much do you really know about somebody. So I thought it would be fun if we do a couple get to know you questions. How do you feel about that?
All right. Sounds good to me, I guess.
And now, listeners, Adam has literally no idea what I've picked because we did the show notes like 5 minutes before we started recording. So I just Googled a bunch of stuff and he has no idea. Yeah. So I might give you time to think and answer it myself and then have you answer if you can't think of something like immediately because it's hard. I try to find kind of funny ones, but there's not really any funny ones because they're meant to be like super serious, get to know you things. So I tried to think of some funny ones and some are more like serious sounding.
Yeah. Before we get into that, like every once in a while, like in school, like first day, they'd always do like a get to know you and there's always be like the 2 truths and a lie. And so the one I always picked as one of my truths was broke my arm on a teeter-totter.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. And
not
so
for you, but
everybody... It actually wasn't all that bad. But, like, everybody would always think that's a lie. Because, like, how the hell do you break your arm on a teeter-totter? And technically, it wasn't on the teeter-totter.
It was
falling off the teeter-totter.
That's so funny. I could never think of things because it's like I'm pretty bad at lying. Like, I can do little white lies. Like, oh, I have plans. Like, I can do that. But I can't, like, lie. So I was always terrible. And I hated those. So I tried to pick ones that weren't so, like, interviewee, like where do you see yourself in 5 years? I tried to pick like kind of funny ones or ones that might have a story behind them and stuff for us. So
alright.
Okay. I have 6 picked out, but depending on time we might do less. Okay. All right.
Interviewer voice.
So where do you see yourself in 10 years now?
Oh.
Curveball. Okay. What did you think you would grow out of, but you haven't? And just if you need a second, I can go first. So, because I've had some time to process, if you'd like.
I don't know. I still really like Nerf guns.
Dude just like shooting stuff at things.
No, hear me out.
I can hit it and knock it over.
No, like, as a kid, like, Mom never let me have Nerf guns or anything, because I'd shoot them in the house and she wouldn't want me shooting it at things, because, hell, we broke enough things. And so...
You broke enough things and blamed it on me.
The royal we. But, no, so, recently I kind of, like, stumbled up... Oh, what it was is I was staying over at your house when you were away for whatever, watching the dog. I think it was when you went to Quebec for the anniversary. And so in the shed, there was a Nerf gun there, and so I started playing with it, and I was like, oh, I don't know what, and so I, like, looked up something, and I was like, oh, that one looks cool, I should get that. And then I was like, oh, that one also looks kind of cool, so now I've just got, like, a box of Nerf guns sitting in my bedroom.
So you blame my husband for your addiction.
It's not an addiction, it's a collection.
Ah, I see. Very different. See this lovely 2008 model with the orange darts. It's a good year, good vintage.
Technically, the orange ones are the new darts, and they've only been out since fall of last year. So,
I swear there's older orange darts than that, but I guess you are the collector. You would know. Okay, so I guess to answer the question myself, what did I think that I would grow out of, but I haven't? It sounds silly, but I guess the only thing I could think of, um, and I imagine a lot of people do it, or most people do it. You know how you kind of like talk to yourself, like, but you almost like it's you're not just like talking to yourself and like describing what you're doing. You're kind of like talking out a scenario or like just like fantasize about winning the lottery and you're sort of talking about yourself and like what you'd buy or what like I don't know, I
yes.
thought I would stop doing that.
Yeah. No, I
Or
think
like to kind of
everybody
like
does
play out a
that.
little thing in your head, like a little instead of just having a daydream fantasy in your head, you kind of are talking like you're pretending you're being interviewed on TV and you're talking to yourself or something like that.
Okay, I don't go that far, but sometimes I like kind of like pre-plan conversations. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I was if then I'll be like, oh yeah, and I'll go on about this thing, and then we'll talk that, and then they'll ask this question, I'll answer it like this, and then you actually have the conversation. It goes nothing like that, and you're like, I wasted all that time planning.
Yeah, and I don't do it more as like a planning thing. Like I will kind of think about things I want to say if I know I'm meeting someone or whatever. But yeah, it's more of like little scenarios and you're just talking to yourself. I don't know. I'm weird. So that I almost thought I would stop doing that, but I still do
I
that.
think everybody does it to an extent, at least.
Yeah, I think everyone talks to themselves a little bit. It's just how much you do it.
Mhm.
All right. Next question. What is the best compliment that you have ever received? And this one you can think about because like you might not have that immediately in your mind.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, give me a minute on this one. You can go
All
first.
right, so I'll tell my stories. So I kind of have two because like the one that jumps to my head of like the one that I was actually sort of happiest about isn't really complimenting me so much as like my relationship like with my husband. So I had this guy at work that I used to work with at my old job, and he was moving and he didn't want to get rid of a bunch of stuff, but then he didn't have anywhere to put it. He was moving internationally. So I said like, well, I have a whole basement I'm not using. Why don't you like bring your stuff over and like I'll keep it. And we had this deal that I would keep his stuff for a while until he either came back or got it shipped over if he was staying permanently kind of thing. So he brought over his stuff and he like stayed for dinner one night and uh we were talking about it and yeah, my husband was home. I was trying to think if he was home or not. So we're all there and we're all talking and I said something and he complimented me, but kind of both of us at the same time of like, Sonia will tell all these stories about you at work, talking to my husband. Like she'll tell all these stories about you at work. And I think she's the only person I've ever heard talk about their partner or their whatever in a positive light. Usually you're like bitching and you're like, oh, I can't believe you did this. And like, you always love the person, but like you're just complaining about everything because that's what you do. And he's like, I think she's the only person I've ever heard tell good things. Like she doesn't tell bad stories about you. And so I'm like, oh, that's so like sweet. I didn't even like notice I was doing it, but that's what he perceived, and I thought that was really sweet of him. So as I said, it wasn't so much me as kind of both of us. And I think the best compliment to me exclusively, uh, slash most ironic compliment, I think that's why I like it. So in elementary school, there was this guy who used to kind of bully me, like call me names and stuff like that. And you see in the movies, or maybe different people have different experiences, but it hurt, like it sucked, but it's not like it ruined my life kind of thing, unlike the current movie we will be discussing. But um
Oh, on topic.
oh,
Oh.
tie-in. Foreshadowing. But so he like called me names and made fun of me a little bit, and it didn't scar me for life. It's still like I don't hate him or anything. um But in high school, like you continue with the same people throughout your school. So in high school, we got paired up together on some project, and like we're working together, whatever. And he's like, you know what? Like, you're actually like a really smart, cool person. And like we didn't hang out, so it was just like a, I didn't know you were like this kind of like stranger thing, but it was ironic because I'm like, you were a dick to me like 10 years ago, and now I'm the coolest person ever. Like, so it was a compliment, but it was more of the fact that it was ironic.
Yeah. I can't really think of anything that like really stands out. The most I can think of is like the first year I started working at Dad's, like I was doing the reception stuff, so I was always on the phone with people, and I'd get like I had multiple people tell me, like, because I forget what it was, but somebody called about something, and like I was explaining it to them, and afterwards they were like, "Thank you. You really helped me out." Like that kind of thing. Like, I was all worried about this thing, but then you explained it all this, like, it's hard to explain. Like,
it was a genuine, like, really good.
It was
good,
genuine
like,
appreciating my spending, like, 5 minutes just explaining something to them. And, like, to me, it's just, I'm doing my job. Somebody calls with a question, I answer it. But to them, they were worried about this, whatever it was, and they explained it in such a way that they finally got it, because they'd been on the phone with Revenue Canada for, like, hours trying to deal with this thing, and, like, I spent, like, 5 minutes just listening to them go on about this, and then I explained it the best I could, and they were like, "Thank you." And so it wasn't really a compliment so much as showing appreciation for what I was doing, which was nice.
And do those genuine moments of appreciation balance out all the idiots who call? I guess not, but at least a couple of them stand out.
Well, I don't really do much calling of people nowadays, so it doesn't balance out. I just get all the idiots.
All right. Question number 3. This is kind of like a random one that I found. If you had a never-ending candle that could smell like anything in the world you wanted, what would it be? Short version, what is your favorite smell?
Oh. Okay. You remember Babysitting Marilyn, right?
Yes.
Like,
All right. We had a daycare babysitting lady, and you went to her. I didn't, like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I think it was when I was 4 or turning 5, when like I was leaving, like she gave Mom a like vanilla scented candle. Like, it's still at Dad's house, it's downstairs, and I always liked the scent of that. So if I had to pick like an actual like candle scent, it would be that. But if I could pick any scent, I'd have to think on that for a minute. Like, what could I, like, do I always have to burn this candle, or can I just burn it every once in a while?
It's like a candle. It's whenever you want, but it would never run out. And it would always smell like exactly what you wanted, but it has to be like one thing.
Okay, so it's not like I just constantly have this scent.
No, it wouldn't be like intruding everywhere in your house. Like, it would just be when you want to put on a candle, and you do. What smell would you like?
Okay, in that case, root beer. I love the smell of root beer.
Root beer.
Yeah,
that is a good smell.
I wouldn't light the candle very often, but every once in a while I'd be like, I feel like having some root beer. Let's make it smell like root beer, and I'll go grab a can or something.
I was gonna say, would you drink root beer while you smell your root beer candle?
Well, of course. It would be a little weird to not drink root beer if you're burning a never-ending root beer candle.
Too bad it was a never-ending can of root beer that like always stayed fizzy or something. But that's not the question.
That'd be great.
All right. I don't know. See, this was the one that I had the most trouble with. Because, yeah, you either think of, like, traditional candle smells. Also, it's hilarious that your candle pick is, like, vanilla, although, like, a specific type of vanilla. Like, you were literally the most vanilla person just getting a vanilla candle.
Well, I don't have many candles, so I don't know many candle scents. So I'm just thinking, like, what candle have I smelt before that I really liked? Oh, that one.
I'm trying to think of, like, if I had to pick a candle smell now. I don't know what my favorite candle was. All right.
Unscented.
Unscented. did. I actually like. I might pick if I had to pick a candle smell. I know there's ones like lemon meringue or lemon tart or something. I really like the smell of lemon. Like it's like fresh and kind of clean. I like, I don't like the really sweet smelling ones as much, like the cookies or whatever. So I would probably pick lemon tart or whatever smell. As of like any smell in the world, gasoline. No. I enjoy the smell of gasoline, not like in a huffing gas kind of way, but I don't think I could smell that more than I already could do. I don't know what my favorite smell is. I'll just say lemon tart and just move on. What is the most illegal thing you've ever done? Please note that this does not constitute a admission of criminality. This is not to be used for police procedurals. I don't think that disclaimer is going to help us, but just in case.
Either shoplifting or smoking pot.
You shoplifted / smoked pot / without me?
Technically, the one time that I've smoked pot is when we went downtown with your Toronto friends, but the bar we wanted to go to was closed, so we were walking back to the car, and your husband was like, "Hey, do you want some?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?"
Oh, so you did technically smoke pot with me. That's
yes.
Funny. Your one time smoking pot. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and then the shoplifting was you remember Jared from up the road?
Yes, I do.
One time we went to 7-Eleven and stole like Yu-Gi-Oh cards or something.
That's hilarious. So I was trying to think of something, and I've accidentally shoplifted.
I've accidentally shoplifted too. You remember the Looney Lizard dollar store?
The dollar store, yeah.
Yeah, when I was like 6 or 7, like I was collecting keychains because I'm like a serial collector of random crap.
You're a collector of collections?
Yes. And so I grabbed a keychain and I didn't want to carry it when I was walking around the store, so I put it in my pocket, forgot about it, and left the store. So I stole a keychain when I was like 6 or 7.
I see, like, you almost can't count like kid stuff because like you're just forgetful and don't understand that things don't belong to you. Like I remember, this isn't my thing. This is just going off yours, but there was a store, and I can't remember what store it was, but I had taken a handful of like little bath beads, like the things you dissolve in a little oil in the bathtub. I don't even know if they make bath beads anymore. They have those bath bombs with shit in them. But
yeah.
So I had taken a bunch of bath beads, and Dad drove me back to the store and made me return them to teach me that stealing is wrong. I gotta be like 5. Like you just take it because they're shiny and like, ooh, this is fun. Like you don't think about it. Or I've accidentally shoplifted recently, like I'll be at the grocery store and like something will be at the bottom of the cart and I forget to take it out, and then I get to the car to unload. I'm like, oh geez, and that's happened a couple times. But I think the most illegal thing I've ever done intentionally, besides previously smoking pot, because this is Canada, no one cares.
Yeah.
I
murdered a guy.
No, I made a really terrible like turn on a road. Like I've turned down, like, there's this thing where it says like don't turn left, but I'm like, I'm just gonna turn left here. But I like turned left from like the wrong lane and like cut a truck off, and he was like flipping me off, and it was bad. Like it's one of those things where sometimes you get that thought in your head of like, oh my god, I did that horrible thing, I wish I could take that back, that was so unsafe and wrong. Or I wouldn't count this as illegal, but I have a funny story about the cops. So, an ex-boyfriend and I were fooling around in Riverside Park once in a car, and the cops came and like knocked on the window and were like, "You need to leave." I'm like, "Oh my god!" And yeah, so technically, is it like illegal? I don't know, but they told me to get lost. So that was fun. That's my closest, I guess, I've been to being arrested story, even though I wasn't too close there. They're just, get out of here, you kids. Yeah. All right. Last one. Which one of your scars has the best story behind it?
I've got like 2 scars. One is from chickenpox when I had my cast on from breaking my arm. and I kept scratching it because that was the only one I could reach with like a pencil. So I have a little scratch there, and then I've got one further up on the same arm that got scratched by a tree branch that I was getting out of a tree.
Those are very riveting stories.
Yep.
I feel like I should have ended with the illegal one. But so I guess I don't have. I actually had a scar completely go away. One was like from our old cat Blake. He was like sitting on my arm and jumped off, and his like claw scratched down my arm, and that one's actually gone now. I don't even have it anymore. I have a chickenpox scar, so that's not very fun. And the only one that I actually think has a funny story behind it. Oh, maybe two, but one's funnier. Well, okay, I'll start with the least funny. So I have one on my leg from hopping over a chain link fence, and it cut me as I fell off it. And
what was that up at?
Amy's house. No, I was hopping over the back of Amy's fence.
Okay, I for some reason I thought that was up at like Aunt Marion's or something.
No,
somebody did something like that at Aunt Marion's one time.
No, but the one I think is the funniest story is I have a little one on my forehead, and I'm almost surprised this one hasn't gone away because I also think it's the oldest one. But when I was a little, like 4-ish, I was following Dad around the house, and I guess he thought that I wasn't behind him, and then he like shut a door on my head. So I have a little vertical scar close to my hairline on my forehead from where he shut the door on me. So that's the funniest story.
Yeah.
All right, and now we all know each other just a little bit better. If any listeners would like to share their answers to the questions that equally embarrass themselves, please feel free to contact us. Or if you have get to know you questions that you would like us to answer, that you would like to know about us, that can also be sent.
Yeah.
And if we have another boring movie that we don't have a lot to talk about, we'll answer them.
Yeah. All right, so we should probably get into the movie now that we've
now that we've been talking for 45 minutes.
Yeah. See, the problem is there's nothing really to talk about with this movie, like you said earlier. Like, usually we have, like, a topic, like with Ghost in the Shell, it was the whitewashing, and there's the this and the that with all the other movies. But this is just like, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. It doesn't ask any more of you than to just experience it, and then it's over. Mm-hmm. So, Adam, it is your turn for the summary.
Yeah. All right. So, like you said earlier, this
spoilers. Like, this has a twist ending-ish, you might call, ? So,
yes.
So spoilers.
All right, so like you said earlier, this was a Netflix special, and it was my turn to pick as well, and this is just one that was in like my Netflix recommended.
I was gonna say, you always pick from your recommendations, so we always do these like weird like suspense movies, and like people breaking into people's houses movies and like crime things. Well,
so far they've turned out pretty good. This one was less than, but it was alright, I guess. Alright, so the movie for this episode is 2015's The Gift, directed by Joel Edgerton. It also stars Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall, as well as Joel Edgerton. He's in it as well. So, basic summary of this is that Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall are a married couple. They moved back to LA from Chicago. Jason Bateman's character Simon grew up in that area, and as they're out shopping for stuff for their new house, they run into a former classmate of Simon's. His name's Gordo. And as the movie progresses, we find out that Gordo was like the weird kid that everybody picked on in school, and there was rumors about him doing this and that, and so they kind of befriend him after meeting him at like the home supply store, and he keeps leaving them little gifts and kind of like inviting himself over and like overstaying his welcome and all this, and he's kind of getting towards the creepy side. And so Rebecca Hall's character, Robin, is like, oh, he's just probably lonely, he wants friends and all this, and Simon, Jason Bateman's character, is like, no, he's weird, we need to, like, detach ourselves from him, we need to, like, tell him to screw off. And so an argument ensues after a failed dinner party, and so they never see each other again. But they suspect that Gordo killed their fish and stole their dog and is spying on them and stalking them and all this. And it eventually comes to blows after we find out that Simon was actually Gordo's bully in school.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the while this is happening, Simon and Robin are trying to start a family. Back in Chicago, they had tried and failed, but now that they've moved back to California, they want a fresh start, so they're trying again. And so Robin does eventually get pregnant, but then after the falling out of Gordo and Simon, Gordo sends Simon a tape that is possibly Gordo drugging, raping, and possibly impregnating Robin to have the kid that Simon thinks is his. And the ending is left ambiguous about whether or not he actually did.
Yeah, the camera like cuts out, like he puts her on the bed and then it like cuts out, and so you don't know if he did it. And it's like, I don't want to step over your summary toes here, but yeah. So, and then Robin believes like he comes to the hospital more beat up than what he actually was, and then Robin's like furious at Simon, and well, basically it's implied that they're getting divorced now.
Yeah. And so that's the basic summary.
Yay! such a happy, feel-good movie, heartwarming movie of the year.
Yeah.
And as it opens, and they obviously set Gordo up to be super creepy, like from the get-go. And I'm watching this like at home, alone, by myself at night. I'm like, oh my god, like I don't know where this is going. Should I be doing this? Like, I'm not one for really scary movies, and this wasn't like. It was less scary than I thought. Like, it's not a horror movie. It's like kind of a suspense movie. So
yeah.
It turned out better psychologically for me than if it was a straight horror movie. Mm-hmm. So, what are your overall thoughts?
I didn't dislike it, but I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was overall average. Mm-hmm. I definitely think there's better, like, suspenseful movies that you could watch. There's definitely going to be worse ones that you could watch. So I'd say probably 6 out of 10. That's
fair. And as I said, so I was just pleasantly surprised that it wasn't like a horror slasher movie. I'm like, oh, I don't want this. And like, that kind of thing. I think overall I kind of agree, like, my issue always with the Netflix ones is paying attention. I think I paid attention a little more than some other ones. So it at least had me following along with the story that it was telling. Mm-hmm. I would probably say 6.5-ish. So yeah, about the same, which is interesting because I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes and their rating is 95%. So that's not like people giving it, 93%. So it's not mm-hmm. people giving it 93% out of 100. It's just 93% of reviewers liked it. So I can see how it would be positive. Like, it is well mm-hmm. done. Like, and I guess we'll talk about maybe the sort of how the story works in a second. But it kept me guessing enough. Like I said, like, he's just going to murder them. Like, I thought mm-hmm. that it was like a murder story. And so about halfway through, it's sort of, we find out that they've experienced like a loss. I don't know if it was like a miscarriage or their child died really young or like something, but either way, they previously had a baby and now they don't, like something happened. And it seemed to trigger some sort of like mental disorder in Robin. Like, she was addicted to pills or something, because we see her like sneaking pills from her friend, and Jason Bateman finds them and is like, what's this? I thought you were getting healthy, and blah, blah, blah. So about halfway through, I'm like, is it going to be that he's actually normal and she's just like crazy paranoid and doing something? Yeah. Is she going to secretly murder him for some reason? Like, and it kind of like made me think, like, like Gordo wasn't going to be the bad guy, and then he turns out to be kind of the bad guy. And I guess it was about 3/4 through where we find out that Simon, Jason Bateman, is actually a huge dick. And so I'm like, okay, they're clearly painting him to be bad, but it's like a setup to kind of get what he deserves, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we also find out, and something that I didn't think needed to be in there per se was there's also the subplot of he works at some big security firm and he's up for a promotion, but so is this other guy who we briefly meet, and and he like somehow like falsifies information about this guy and gives it to his current employer, and then this guy gets fired, and then he gets the job, and then this guy like throws a brick through his house, and then his like Simon's job finds out that he lied about this other guy and fires him, and
Yeah.
and it's supposed to be at the end of the movie he's lost his job and he's lost his wife and he's lost his baby and like his whole life is ruined now. But it's like, I don't, did it mean to imply that Gordo somehow told them about this, or that this was just another thing he did? Because it seemed like not related to the main story. It was just another way to prove he was a dick.
Yeah, it's definitely just another thing that is happening bad to him.
Yeah. So I just thought it was kind of odd to have that there. It seemed like at odds. It was to show how terrible a person Simon actually is, and in case the like other stuff, because he starts making fun of Gordo, like they're at air quotes Gordo's house, and he's like mocking him and like calling him the names he used to call him and stuff. And so you start to see of like, well, he's not a very nice guy. Like I thought we were all adults here. So yeah, it just seemed like we had to prove that he was a bad guy, and like ended up sort of getting what he deserved. And it was okay. I'm gonna ask you straight out: do you think Gordo sexually assaulted Robin?
I don't know.
Oh, he's a weak answer. You have to put yes or no, and just to say why.
But there isn't enough information in the movie to say whether or not he did.
You think it's not about what the movie like. We can speculate about anything. We have to speculate, Adam. Do you think he did it?
No.
I also think no. There, are we happy? So I think he didn't actually do it because Robin's the only person who actually likes him. Like and like I'm sure he can tell that she she's like, we should give him a chance, and like tries to be nice and like tries to be sympathetic and whatever to him. So I feel like I don't know, because I feel like his anger or rage or whatever with Simon isn't enough to make him hurt the actual person who likes him or like wants to give him a chance. Because although his goal is to hurt Simon, that would be hurting her way more, I think. Obviously, being the victim of the sexual assault. But you also have to think of like, he had something planned already. Like, I don't think when he randomly ran into them at the store that he actually wanted to be friends. And if they had been friends with him, like if Simon hadn't been like a dick and started calling him names and like breaking up with him and whatever, I don't think that would have been happy. Like the first thing he does is overhear their address when they're telling the guy at the store where to deliver their stuff, and just shows up all the time. Like, that's no person would think that that's normal behavior. And he clearly already had intentions to do something. So I think maybe this plan developed, but he already had negative intentions. So I don't know.
I don't think so. Again, like, everything he does is kind of creepy. But it doesn't start escalating until Simon's starting to be a dick to him as well. Like, the first thing he does is just drops off a bottle of wine at their house with a note saying, "Hey, welcome back. Here's my number. We should get together sometime." Yeah, it's a little weird that he went by their house and overheard and was, like, eavesdropping on their address. But nothing in and of itself says, "Hey, I'm planning on getting back at you." It's kind of like a weird, friendly welcome. And even like when he shows up, he's being friendly, like, oh, here's a list of local services if you want them, and here's this, and oh, you have a really nice house, and like she even invites him in, like, oh, do you want a tour? And he's like, oh, sure, and all this stuff. And so he's I feel like at the beginning he's genuinely trying to be nice, at least to her.
Yeah. And I guess like that's the whole point is it's ambiguous. I'm trying to remember where in the timeline because it's implied that he drugs her, but we originally see it from her perspective of she's taken pills, like she's on whatever. So it's from her perspective we see it as she took too many pills or whatever and falls down. So I'm trying to remember where in the timeline that was. If that was, I feel like it was before he like Simon broke up with him though, or was
No,
it after?
it was after. It was definitely after.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was trying to remember. So I'm like, cause that's like you've devised a plan now. Like you know what you're gonna do to hurt him.
Mhm.
So, and I don't know if it's I just like Jason Bateman, so I was trying to like defend him in my mind instead of like the character. But Robin kind of freaks out because she learns that he was the bully and everything, and she's like, I don't even know you. Like, why wouldn't you tell me this? And blah blah blah. And to Jason Bateman's defense, you don't necessarily tell your partner everything about your life, especially the really shitty things you did. And I get that she was like, what's his deal? And, why is he so weird? And like, what's let bygones be bygones mean? And all that stuff. And he kind of, Jason Bateman freaks out and was like, I'm not telling you, like, it's over, forget it. But I don't feel like you're obliged to tell your partner that you did something really horrible 20, 30 years ago. I get it's kind of relevant in their life now, but it's like, maybe you don't want to admit that you were a horrible person / kind of still are a horrible person. So in that defense, I don't think she should have been as mad at him as she was. And like, she kept Gordo's letter saying like, let's let bygones be bygones. And it was like bothering her and stuff. And I don't know if it's like the mental illness they've alluded to or whatever, but I feel like it was unjustified how angry she was at Simon about that.
Yeah. At the same time, you're like, hey, there's this crazy guy that may or may not be after us. He's already killed our fish and stolen our dog. Why won't you tell me? Allegedly. He's already allegedly killed our fish and stolen our dog. Why won't you tell me why he's allegedly doing this?
Yeah. It's like, I get it. But at that point, like, they break up with Gordo. They don't see him again. No more weird incidents have happened. She gets pregnant. She's almost having the baby. It's like, it's at least, 9 months from when they break up with him to sort of the climax of this movie. So like for 9 months, there's no interaction. There's no anything. They're going on with their lives. It seems like they're both, respecting each other's space. And I guess it's, Simon went out and got a restraining order or whatever too, just in case. But like, it's over. It's been almost like a year and she's still mad at him, even though no other incidents have happened.
Yeah.
Like, literally everything seems to be cool for at least 9 months. Like, no one, like, she doesn't even think about him. Or, she thinks about him, but there's no other weird things happening. So it just seems like even after pretty much a year, you're still mad at him for not telling you. But, and then I guess, like, she's been holding this grudge. So and like, why did he get drunk and like beat him up in the parking lot? Like, how is that helping you? Like, stop it. Like, you come for your super fake apology, get super pissed when he doesn't accept your fake apology, and then beat the crap out of him in a parking lot. You beat up the crazy guy that you think is like out to get your wife. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
But it's like, by that point, he already has the like tape. Like, he's already maybe assaulted her. Like, was he still waiting for the baby to be born? Or like, would he have done this if Simon hadn't beat him up in the parking lot? Do you think? Because he already had it done. It was already done. Was he just like waiting for Simon to recontact him and freak out? Like it
Yeah,
seems like
I think that if Simon hadn't gone there and like beat the crap out of him, he would have left them alone.
yeah, and this was like his backup plan. Like he has an ace in the hole if he ever wants to, and that's yeah. But then it's like you've already gone through with this thing. You've already maybe sexually, and that's another reason why I don't think he actually did it either. Of like, if you were gonna tell him, you were gonna tell him regardless, and it just seems like the only reason he did was because he beat him up, you know.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, I think it was too coincidental to have his job and his family life all fall apart at the same time. That was a little too coincidental for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we only have one person to blame, Joel Edgerton, because he's the one that wrote it as well.
And he plays the crazy person. So
Yeah.
who do you think you are? Ben Affleck, just doing everything. But
Well, this was also his directorial debut as well.
and like direction wise, I don't feel like there was any glaring issues. I mean,
Yeah.
as I said, it kind of kept me guessing of like, okay, Gordo's obviously the bad guy. We get all the spooky music when he comes over all the time. And then like it might be that she's crazy. So I'm like, okay. And then back to he's crazy. And it's like also when they were in Gordo's house, I instantly like there was no fooling that was his house. That was obviously not his house right from the get-go.
Yeah.
So did he murder the people in this house? That's why I kept thinking like he's gonna murder them because he obviously murdered the people who own this house. So I that didn't fool me one bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just I don't think it's a bad story. I think it's like the twists are appropriate and everything. It's just kind of it's okay. And now that we've spoiled the ending for you, you don't really need to see it.
Yeah.
Unless you want to think for yourself whether he actually did it. And I think maybe that's the lasting thing of this movie is it's the only thing you can really debate about is did he do it? And another thing of even if he assaulted her, the chances of him being the dad I think are fairly slim. Because in order for that, like if that was the plan, and that's the thing too is he could not have known at the time of assaulting her that she would get pregnant from him. And
Yeah.
so that's the thing is like he almost had to guarantee that she got pregnant because like he had to like know when she was ovulating somehow. Like there's no way he could know that. Like it's as a reproductive biologist, it's hard enough to get pregnant sometimes when you're trying to, let alone that one time, which completely does happen. It can happen. People get raped and get pregnant. Like it happens. But I feel like the chance is very, very small. I mean, you only have about a 10% chance of getting pregnant per month of actively trying. So he has a less than 10% chance of having sex with her and it being his baby.
Yeah.
And I thought it was funny because the original title of the movie was going to be Weirdo. That was the original name of the script that he was pitching. And then they changed it, obviously, to The Gift. And at the end, because I guess it's like you think the gift is like the wine and him coming over. And I was trying to think of like, is one of these going to be poison or something? Because he keeps like leaving notes and like, is one full of anthrax? And like, he keeps leaving letters and stuff on their door and like, and all that stuff. But at the end, if I recall correctly, it's like as Simon is beating him up, he's like, but I gave you a gift or something. And then we find out later that the gift is implied to be the baby. And I'm like, that's a pretty good title. Because like Weirdo, it's kind of like you already think he's a weirdo. You don't need, and like that was his nickname in school, like Weirdo, Gordo, or whatever, like which isn't even clever, but kids aren't even clever. And so I like that they changed it. It was more subtle and it kind of hit that end point. It hit where the climax hits of like, that's why they called it The Gift. And then he even says, I gave you a gift. But it also made me think of when he said that there was a story of this like guy in the States, and he was like a sperm donor, and he just like any woman who wanted his sample, he would just give them his sample, and like he thought he was helping all these people and all this stuff. And so it just kind of made me think of like, does he actually think he's helping? Like, I know that his actual end point was to screw up Simon's life, but I'm like, oh my God, that would be even crazier if he actually thought he was helping. In some version of the script, I wonder if that's how it went. Of maybe he made up, but he's still creepy, and he ends up assaulting Robin, and he thinks he's helping. That would be creepy too. Just alternative suggestions.
Yeah.
So, and like I did like the supporting cast, and there was a couple like not even cameos, but like actors that I recognized. Like there's a David Denman from The Office who plays like Simon's old buddy from school who kind of assisted in the bullying and stuff like that. And Busy Phillips played like the wife of one of his co-workers. So it's like the two people I actually, well, and Jason Bateman, but like the other people I actually know are very, very minor characters.
Yeah. The one police officer, like the one detective that comes to their house after the Fisher
He's
kills
just
them,
in everything, isn't he? He's just...
Wendell Pierce. He's plays Bunk Moreland in The Wire, and I'm rewatching The Wire right now.
That's funny. Because, and even Joel Egerton, when I was looking at his face, I was like, I know him from somewhere. And I looked him up, like, all his credits, and I can't even think of where I would have seen him. Like, there's a bunch of movies and whatever he's been in, but I'm like, I don't know. Like, I think there's one or two that I actually saw, but none that I would really, I remember him from even. So
he might just be one of those guys that you're like, oh yeah, I've seen them in a couple things, so I recognize the face, but I would never be able to say what I know him from.
Yeah, exactly. Or Rebecca Hall, like who plays Robin. It was sort of the same thing. I'm like, I've seen her and stuff, but
yeah, she played the wife of Christian Bale's character in The Prestige.
Yeah. Or she was just in something. I'm looking it up. It was semi-recent.
It was in Iron Man 3.
That was the one I knew her from. She was in Iron Man 3. So, but yeah. Otherwise, like, I thought the cast was good. I thought everyone sold it. Like, it's, as I said, I like Jason Bateman. It's nice to see him kind of as a bad guy, like a dick, like, because he usually plays kind of the straight man, the everyman sort of comedy type roles. So,
well, he also kind of has this smugness to him in a lot of things that he plays. Like, he's always like, I'm better than, especially in Arrested Development, where he was pretty much better than everybody else.
He was morally superior to everyone else in Arrested Development.
But he knew it and was smug about it, and he just, like, every character he plays has this little bit of smugness to him that I feel could easily transition to him just being a huge asshole.
I don't think he's an asshole in real life.
Oh, I don't think he is, but every character he plays has
Could
that.
Be it, yeah.
If he's like any more of a dick, he'd be just a huge asshole. Currently, he's at the just smug little dick, but any further
we have
than
to bleep
that...
this.
Nah, dick's fine.
Dick's fine. The catchphrase of the episode.
But no, any more, and he would be solely in, like, asshole territory.
And can we also just pretend that season 4 of Arrested Development doesn't exist and just
I never watched it, so for me
light
it
it on
doesn't.
fire or something? Like it was terrible. They should have never done that. Why would they do that? Don't. But overall, okay movie. Wouldn't say go out of my way to see it, but if you got nothing else to watch and it's there, you could do worse.
If it happens to be in your Netflix queue, might as well check it out.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, that is the end of episode 12. Thank you for sticking with us for our 10-minute talk about the movie and 40 minutes about rambling about other things. If you have any, as I said, if you have any questions that you would like us to answer, you think would be fun, or you never want us to do that again and just stick to actual movies, we have things to talk about, let us know. We have a Twitter, and our handle is @_and whatnot. We do have a Gmail account so that you can send us long form versions of all of your questions in nicely organized bullet points. And that is andwhatnotpodcasting@gmail.com.
Yep.
All right, until next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.